You're ready, sir.
Welcome to Can Talks 2015. Insight equals inspiration. Today, I'm going to be talking to you guys about the history of the world according to Hitler, as portrayed in the novel Fatherland by Robert Harris. Now, before I begin, I'm going to show you some images, and I want you to tell me where you think they're from. Obviously, where do you think these are from?
Holocaust.
The Holocaust. Now, obviously, the Holocaust was one of the worst, most tragic events in all of human history. Over 11 million people, innocent people, were needlessly murdered. But how do we know that the Holocaust happened? Well, the Allies won World War II. Britain and the U.S. invaded France, and they found evidence of concentration camps. And then Russia pushed into Poland and into Germany and found evidence of Auschwitz and other Nazi death camps. But what would happen if the Nazis had won World War II? What would happen if the D-Day invasion failed, and what would happen if the Russians had lost at Moscow and had lost at the Battle of Stalingrad? What would happen then? Well, that is the seminal theme in the novel Fatherland, as it all comes down to the question of who writes history. Now, we've all heard the phrase before, the victors write history, so what would happen if the Nazis were the victors of World War II? Well, in Robert Harris's view, the Nazis won World War II, and they now control all of Eastern Europe, most of Russia, and the entirety of Europe is under Nazi Germany's influence. It is now a major world power, and it is locked in a Cold War with the United States. However, Nazi Germany is now winning. They were the first to land on the moon, they were the first to develop an atomic bomb, and they are basically the world's preeminent superpower. And because of this, no one knows that the Holocaust happened. Nobody knew that all those people were murdered. Now, the novel itself focuses on Xavier March, a former U-boat captain turned detective who works for the Berlin Police Department. He is called one day to investigate the murder of a high-ranking Nazi official. But instead of investigating, he is told by the Nazi SS, then transformed into the official secret police of the Nazi government, to just stop investigating. That's not going to worry about that. They'll handle it. But as he and his partner Charlotte McGuire begin to investigate, they begin to uncover evidence that there was some big secret, that there was something that the Nazi government is hiding. So, as they begin to investigate, they find papers telling of the plans of the Nazi final solution, given to them by a surviving member of one of the conferences. But through the entirety of the novel, everybody, mostly in Germany, wonders what happened to all the people of the Jewish faith. March himself lived next to a Jewish family that he was good friends with, who just one day in the 1940s disappeared. Didn't know where they went, no note, no nothing, just they left. All he had that remember them by was a picture. Now he wonders throughout the novel, but he, like everybody else in Germany, like everybody else in the world, doesn't know what happened, and they can't prove anything because the Nazis had won World War II. They hid all evidence of the Nazi death camps. So what happens is Charlotte and Xavier find evidence of the Nazi final solution through a safety deposit box in Switzerland, through a bunch of intrigues and mysteries that you'll have through the novel to figure it out. But they get back to Berlin, and their plan is to give the evidence of the Nazi final solution to a member of the U.S. consulate, so that he can take it to President Kennedy, who is visiting Berlin for a peace treaty, so to say, to end the Cold War. But the novel ends with Xavier and through the entirety of the novel, Xavier doubts that his people could have done this. He himself is a very patriotic man. He loves his country. He loves Nazi Germany. So he doubts that even with all this paper in front of him, that his people could have done this. So the novel ends with him driving towards the supposed place of Auschwitz, and he's hoping to find something, some sort of physical evidence that it actually occurred, because he's obviously being told by the Nazi SS, who were going to kill him for meddling in their affairs. And as he finally gets to Auschwitz, he finally sees that there are the smokestacks, he finally sees the destroyed buildings, and he finally believes that yes, his people could and did carry out this tragic, horrible human event. And the novel ends with Charlotte getting across the Switzerland border, the Swiss border, being able to take the evidence of these papers, the evidence of the final solution, to to the U.S. consulate there and being able to tell President Kennedy. But it all comes down to the question of who writes history. The winners write history, and it all depends on what happens. So I thought that this book would actually, it wasn't necessarily an insightful book. It was more a very kind of action-packed thriller. It was very fast-paced, and I didn't think it was the best written. But so I would not include it in the AP curriculum just because I thought it was on the par with Child 44 in the same kind of genre. But I thought Child 44 was a lot better written, had a lot more deeper themes, and it had a lot more to say. So, yeah.